Hello, hello, girlies, and welcome back to another episode of Chatty Rats. I am your co host, Natalia Graciela Vargas Soria, and I am joined by.
Rasheen. Sounds like you're saying like a dinosaur name. Oh god.
That's how I
The way
open
you
my
say it
stand up
super
now.
fast. Oh, really?
Yeah, I just say, Hi, Natalia Graciela Vargas Soria. Very dramatic.
That is very dramatic.
Yeah, I was telling you, I think I really want to go see Love Lies Bleeding with Kristen Stewart because I just heard an interview of her on Skinny But
Oh,
Not Fat
Skinny Not That Fat?
podcast.
Oh,
Yeah,
I've been seeing clips of that. Okay, so you actually listened to it.
yeah. Yeah, and I was like, you know what? I like my girl Kristen. I want to go support. So I think I'm gonna go by myself. So another episode of me trying to be Sheen's friend forever. Going to the movies.
But you're not just gonna go to any movies, you're gonna go to the movie theater, the
World
place to
famous.
be. Alamo Drafthouse. And if none of you guys have experienced Alamo Drafthouse, let me break it down for you. So they do have locations all over the US. Sorry if you don't live in the US, but it's literally the most amazing movie theater experience. They have reclining chairs, they have a full
Oh,
menu. If you drink, they got drinks. If you don't drink, they got drinks for you too. They got milkshakes, they got cookies, they got everything. If you get there early, you can just order, like, with your server, but if you get there later and it's dark and quiet, they have a little system where you, like, write down your order and you put up your
oh,
card and press a button, and they have a very, very strict no phone policy where, like, if someone's talking or on their phone, you can let the server know and they will get kicked out. So, actually, it was
decent.
interesting because I did see a TikTok where this guy was like, I used to have AMC StubHub and like I'm a big movie nerd. And the reason I've now switched to Alamo Drafthouse is because I cannot take the AMC crowds anymore. Like people are so disrespectful. They won't
Oh,
stop talking. They won't stop being on their phones. And he was like, the only crowd of people I found that are like respectful of the movie experience are like Alamo Drafthouse people. And it's because there is that threat where they're like, "If you don't get off your phone, if you don't stop talking,
we're
we're
gonna
gonna kick
get
you
you.
out." Because no one actually
Yeah,
ends up doing it. Like, no one actually ends up being on their
right.
phone. I think that threat alone is enough for people
Enough.
to not do it and realize, like,
That's
this is
crazy.
serious.
Yeah, I love it because I feel like a princess, and, like, tickets are, like, 12 bucks, or if you have a pass, it's $20 for unlimited movies for a month, but I love that, like, the popcorn's, like, 12 bucks, and it's, like, unlimited, the soda's, like, 3 bucks, like, it's not anything crazy, like, for the service that you're getting, which is insane, and,
Mhm.
like, I literally feel like a little baby goblin just like, "Give me my popcorn, thank you." Like, I've definitely built it into my routine to, like, kind of try and go see more movies, and you said this before, it's, like, the perfect way to just, like, unplug because you have
Mhm.
no option but to unplug and enter whatever
Exactly.
world the movie's putting you in. So, yeah, I love it, so I'm excited to go again. I watched Dune earlier this month, so I'm probably gonna do this one too. So, yeah, I love it. I'm super excited.
Yeah, it's one of my favorite solo rituals is to go, and it feels so good. It feels so good.
Yeah, I was influenced by you, and I'm happy that they had an Alamo here in Denver too, so I could experience the
Woo!
vibes.
Next step is for you to get the,
The
pass,
pass. Yeah, I feel like I do go twice a month at least, so I should just get it.
and it'll make you go more. It's a good, like,
Exactly.
weeknight thing too, like, if you just wanna spice up the night.
That's true, that's true. So, today we wanna keep talking about basically hard choices, easy life, why is it that we do not like doing hard things anymore? Like, what's going on in our
Yeah.
society? We're giving, like, ranty vibes, on these,
Yeah.
podcast
I
episodes,
know.
but
We're, like, on our soapbox, like, "Stop protecting your peace."
we're giving, like, Joe Rogan Brown edition, just, like, we're giving
Get your ass
mansplaining.
in the cold plunge, yeah.
You wanna be fucking happy? Let me tell you how to be happy. But as you guys know, I just went to Japan, and Japan is my whole personality now, like, I am Japanese, basically. So, I was just reading about this thing called the Misogi. So, basically, let me tell you, Shane, because this applies to the whole, like, doing hard things. So,
Mhm.
a Misogi is a ritual of, like, purification in Japan, and
Mm.
historically, it is that They basically put you in cold water, and traditionally, it was like a waterfall or something of that sort. And doing this difficult thing of putting your body through that state allows you to enter it's called a sumikiri state, which is a state
Oh.
of pure clarity of body and mind.
Mm.
So this has eventually evolved over the years, and now we are calling it the Misogi challenge. So basically what that is that
Mm.
you are gonna do something hard, very difficult once a year that's going to like push your out of your comfort zone. And it could be like anything. Like, so for example, like you climb a mountain or like you do the Spartan race in your local town, start your own podcast, or do like the one thing that you've always been scared to do, whatever. Do something
Like,
like
making
a
yourself
big
uncomfortable? Yeah.
yes, like doing like a big defining thing at least once a year. And they're saying that when you do that challenging, hard thing, it gives you access to a reservoir of strength and resilience that's gonna carry you throughout the whole year. And I thought this was fascinating because the idea behind this is that it's transformation, basically like shedding your old belief systems of like, oh, I cannot do this, I cannot do that,
Mhm.
and like unlocking a more powerful version of you. I love this concept because I do think that at least once a year I do something crazy that challenges me or something that like I'm shaking and like I'm like, "Oh, I'm so afraid to do this one thing." And when I overcome it the rest of the year, it does feel a lot easier, if that makes sense.
Mhm.
And I thought this was interesting because it obviously started from cold plunges. And if you follow Sheen on social media, our girl is drinking the Kool-Aid. She is cold plunging. She is going in the sunlight right when the sun comes up. Like she is just in this nature health and wellness journey. So I wanted you to talk about like your cold plunge experience because it does stem apparently from this Japanese ritual, which I think is really cool.
Yeah. It makes sense. I feel like there's so much truth in ancient wisdom, and it just seems like we're just going back and
Yeah,
looping to, like, ancient wisdom and being like, "Wait, the science actually supports this." But the reason I started or got interested in cold plunging was because I had heard not only does it have so many health benefits, but it also really impacts your mental health. So a lot of people
yeah,
talk about it as like a benefit for like depression and anxiety because when you are able to do this hard thing and overcome it, your body gets used to it. It's like in a way your body like regulates it your brain to know what to do if it's encounters stress and anxious
yeah,
points. So that's like one of the biggest benefits of cold plunge. And I had done cold showers before. So I had
yeah.
done like the let me get under the shower for 3 minutes under cold like the coldest setting. And let me tell you, that versus a cold plunge, 100% different. 100% different.
Like harder?
Yes, cold plunge is like so much harder cuz a cold shower, yes, it feels really cold and it's uncomfortable,
Yeah.
but it's fine. After a minute, it's like, yes, it's uncomfortable and it feels cold. That's it. But a cold plunge, Natalia, it actually feels painful. Like it's very, very, very painful. At least
Like
the ones I've
numbing.
done. Yeah, yeah. It depends what degrees it's at, but I've done like 39 degrees, which I
Oh.
I think is the coldest.
Oh, okay, Colorado mommy.
Some of them are at like 59, and I think that's probably a little bit like easier.
Yeah.
But the minute I get in, like, my hands and my feet hurt. Everything just hurts, and it feels really painful for however long you're in there, but obviously the once you get out, you feel like you can do anything and, like, you feel unstoppable. So I think it goes back to what you're saying where it's like doing these challenging things gives you the confidence to feel like, "Yeah, I can do anything." I also just feel so good and proud of myself. I'm like, "I did that for 5 minutes."
Oh, you do
Like
it for 5 minutes. Is it, like, pain numbing for 5 minutes, or is it just the first, like, minute or 2 that you're like, "Ow, ow, 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 ow?"
So 5 minutes was, like, my record, but usually I'll do, like, 3 to 4.
Uh-huh.
But I would say, yes, the first 2 minutes are really hard, but that doesn't mean, like, by minute 3 you're like, "I could just stay here all day." Like, definitely does not feel that vibe. I don't think it ever gets to that, but it's probably not as piercingly painful by, like, minute 3, because minute 1 to 2, it's so much pain, Natalia, like, it feels like you're getting stabbed. And then once I got out, when I did the 5 minutes, my hands and my feet hurt so bad, and that
Oh,
lasted,
that's
like, a
crazy.
good 8 minutes or so.
Oh my god, that's so crazy. Is there any limit? What is the
Yeah, there
longest you can
is.
stay that you're allowed to stay, I guess, before you go into, like, hypothermia? Do you know? I was just
To go
curious.
straight?
Yeah.
Like, how long straight?
Yeah, how long straight can you go?
I think they say not to do, like, more than 11 minutes, like 10 or 11
Okay.
minutes. And they say
Okay.
that, like, if you hit 11 minutes a week, so, like, over a week, you combine it to, like, hit 11 minutes, you can get, like, all the benefits that they're talking about.
Oh my god, amazing. That's
Yeah.
crazy because that's, like, showing you that it's literally, like, in our body chemistry, like, our composition to do something difficult and challenging and, like,
Yes.
the release
Yes.
that you feel. Cold plunges, they're all the rage right now,
Yeah, they
especially, like, in
are.
LA, like, New York, but I subconsciously, I guess I do that when I'm in Colorado. Me and Daniel go on these, like, long hikes that end in, like, lakes,
Mm.
and you're, like, so high up in elevation, so the lakes are basically just snow melt. They're
Mm.
also numbingly cold, like, it hurts to go in. So we'll do, like, this 8-mile to 10-mile hike. We get there, and then I usually will jump in and, like, I don't wanna brag, but Daniel's a baby. But I do stay for a long time because at first it kinda hurts, and then, like, it's kinda like a numbing, and like you said, it's not like I'm like, "Oh my god, girl, I could swim all here." It's like a pool. Uh,
Yeah.
but something about it feels, like, very peaceful and cathartic almost because
Yeah.
especially where you are in Colorado, like, it's so majestically beautiful in those lakes that I feel super connected to nature, and then once I get off of it, that release feeling, like, "Oh my god, I feel great, I feel amazing." It's crazy how my mood change afterwards, like, I feel like I could start the whole hike over again, you know?
Mm, mhm.
So, I think that's so crazy. Like, it's so good for us to do these challenging things. And
Yes.
like we talked about, like, in our last episode, we are so uncomfortable with being uncomfortable.
Yes. Yes, and, like, not wanting to do things we don't want to do, and I do want to bring in some science. I think maybe we'll link that little clip in this episode if we can,
Yes.
like that little video I sent you, but basically, Father Andrew Huberman was talking about how in the neuroscientist community, they discovered this part of the brain that's called the anterior mid cingulate cortex. And this part of the brain grows as you do things that you don't want to do. So he was even using the example of cold plunge. He's like, if you love the cold plunge and you go into that cold plunge, this area of your brain won't grow. But if you hate the cold plunge and you do it,
Oh.
it's gonna grow. He also used the example of people who are dieting, who don't want to eat healthy or really want to have this other food, but they push past it and like do the thing that they don't want to do. They're gonna continue growing this part of the brain. And I think he used the example where, like, in athletes, they've studied that this part of the brain is really big, while in obese people, it's smaller. And the thing
Yeah.
is, it's a muscle that you have to continuously grow because if you don't, you're going to lose it. Like, the more you do things that are comfortable, the less that part of the brain grows. So, the more that we do things that we're uncomfortable with and like don't want to do, the bigger that part of the brain gets and the bigger our willpower, our motivation, and all of these things get. Essentially, like it's kind of like a stacking mechanism where it's like the more I do things I don't want to do, I'm going to continue
Okay.
growing and have more willpower.
Okay, that's so cool. I've firmly believe in that, and this is gonna be such a crazy hot take. Life is hard. And guess what? We cannot control the hardness at which life decides to come at us.
Yeah.
Life is difficult. How difficult varies every year, and we cannot control that. But when you do things in your day-to-day life that are challenging you and pushing you out of your comfort zone, and this can be anything from working out, doing a cold plunge, doing something like innovative at work or anything really, your resilience is built in because when these bad things in your life happen, which they will happen, there's no such thing as a perfect life,
Yeah.
you will be so ready because your capacity to handle different
Mhm.
issues is so expansive, and, like, it's huge. I think that's how people have, like, really good perspective in life when, like, bad things happen, they're like, "Well, I do this difficult thing all the time, I didn't think I could do this," like, even if it's, like, something as simple as, like, a cold plunge, I never thought I
Mhm.
could sit there for 4 minutes, hurt so bad, but I got through it, therefore, I can get through this one thing that just popped up in my life that I have no control over. You're training, like, your body, but you're training your mind. So that's was where I think that culturally we're taking a turn that's not going to be sustainable for long-term happiness and peace because to
Yeah.
assume that your life is just gonna be perfect all the time and that as long as I can avoid discomfort, like, it's not gonna work, you know? It's you can't just be like, "Oh, I don't want it." Like, "I'm good." You have to accept those things in life. So it's crazy how you can hack these things to train yourself to be prepared, not necessarily for the worst, but for whatever life decides to throw at you that year.
Yeah, I think it's just getting comfortable with being uncomfortable, which is such a cliche, but it's like the more you get used to that that is just a part of life, you almost live like an easier life. I feel like the more you accept that. Although it seems like we think right now to live an easier life, I should just avoid being
Yeah,
uncomfortable. But I think it's almost like the opposite and like science and things like that almost support that, yes, like, we need to be uncomfortable to grow as humans and have more willpower and, like, do these things, and you were using the example of, like, okay, like, a cold plunge might allow me to have the confidence to do other things, and I think sometimes it might even just be, like, subconscious, and that's what they say about the cold plunge is some people will just become less emotionally reactive
yeah.
because it's just, like, regulated their body and their mind.
Everything in your body is telling you, "Get me out of this cold plunge," and having the control to
Yes.
not react and, like, get out is, like
Yes.
that's a lot of willpower because that's 100% you telling your body, "No, we're gonna stay here even though it doesn't feel right.
Mhm.
We're gonna stay in the discomfort." But if I mean, not to be dramatic, but if you wanna even take it to a bigger scale, if you look at your body alone, our body is chaos on the inside. Like, your heart right now is working day and night, pumping blood.
Mhm.
Your heart can't just be like, "You know what? I'm uncomfy. I gotta go." It would just die. Imagine
Yeah.
if your immune system, when a virus came in, it was just like, "You know what? I'm just not gonna look at it. I'm good. I as a matter of fact, you figure it out. Like, I don't wanna deal with it."
Protecting my peace right now.
I'm protecting
I'm
my
just
peace right
kidding.
now. I'm not dealing with this toxic virus. I'm good. No, it has to go and attack. Like, our soul biology of our bodies is built on hard work and doing hard things all day. That's how we're alive. So to negate that is to negate just you being a human being. So I think that's so crazy, guys. That's so crazy. It's so crazy. And I think that if you have that perspective, it can really change your life for the better.
Yeah,
Um, because I have definitely changed my perspective to that. Like, do
same.
hard things and doing hard things. Even that also means making hard choices. Leaving that boyfriend that is toxic as hell and won't leave you alone. Those hard things unlock like a level of happiness that you're not even aware of exists.
Mhm.
So I feel like when you have that perspective, it can really bring you so much joy in life. It can unlock so many things because you know what's crazy now with my life? I feel like I do difficult things, but I've never felt more peace. And that is
Mhm.
not something I thought I would feel, right? You know, I have faced a lot of like emotional things head on, like this year and last year. And because I did those things and I faced my little demons, I was able to now feel this peace that I did not feel 2 years ago when I was just being
Yeah.
avoidant of all these things,
Yeah.
so
I think the beauty of what I've realized is when you do uncomfortable things, it's easier to also just like stack. So you're like, okay, like I'm getting back to being consistent at the gym. And then you start feeling really good. And then you
yeah.
stack something else on top of that. You're like, oh, okay, like I'm actually gonna like start writing again or start this podcast or start just integrating more difficult things. The more you do it, the easier it gets to handle everything else, which I think is also what you're saying. It's like emotional things, physical things, all of it just like kind of goes together.
It's really nice seeing, like, your journey as well, because I think you said a couple of weeks ago how you're really happy, and
Yeah.
it's crazy that you're doing more things to try and unlock even more happiness, you know? You could be
Yes.
complacent and just be like,
Yes.
good. I'm good here," but I that's one thing that I do like about you, that I feel like you're like a forever student, and you're always, like, looking for
100%.
things that are gonna work for you, essentially.
Yeah, I think that's like the fun discovery of life is like you can just continue like discovering new things, you know, which is so exciting.
Which that reminds me, speaking of that Zeddy Andrew, did you see the whole thing with, like, his, like,
Oh
5
yeah, 5
wives, 5
girlfriends.
girlfriends or whatever,
Yeah.
and how the discourse online was like, "See? The sun method works, the man has time."
I know, I was dying.
The man has time to do all these things. I was dying. I was like, "Wait, yeah, he got energy."
I don't know how I feel about it. Like I don't want to like think too deeply about it cuz he has really like positively impacted my life
Yeah,
with his
yeah.
like science information, but I do think it's like an interesting discourse to be like does someone's private life affect their work? Like should it affect their work? Should it not? Does it matter? Does it dip into integrity? Does it not? I'm not going to answer it, but just food for thought.
Yeah. I don't know, I think it depends on the level. And I
Yeah,
guess, like,
for
what
sure.
triggers you and what doesn't. For example, I don't know my chiropractor. I don't know my doctor. If my doctor has 10 wives, I don't know, it's none of my business. I don't care. It's like, your life is your life. I HIPAA, you know, I don't need to know
Yeah,
anything. So that's just when it comes to those things, I'm just like, I don't know, like, but I also don't care to look into it. It's just social
I agree.
media.
Yeah.
It's wild.
Yeah. I
Um,
know we talk about this, the Salem witch trials with, like, everyone who's in the public eye, you know,
I
kinda like the
know.
vibes that our generation's giving.
We love to cancel people, find the dirt, and just, like,
Yeah,
annihilate.
we
But
do.
honestly, you did you hear the Megan Fox interview with the
I
caller
did, I
daddy?
really liked it. Yeah, great interview.
Um, I did like the point that she make is that we like to cancel people, you know, witch trials, like, "We're gonna burn you. We decided we're gonna do it." But the second that that person is gone, we're like, "Oh my god, where is she? I loved her.
Yeah.
She was amazing. Like, what happened to her?" It's like, "You killed her. Like, you literally killed her."
Yeah,
So it's crazy that we get to that point. It doesn't make sense with, like, our protect our peace culture, because 'cause I'm like, "Why are we so violent when it comes to canceling people online?" But then we're, like, calling my mom, I gotta plan ahead all day for this phone call.
mhm.
Like, I don't know.
Yeah, it was interesting, I saw this girl kinda break it down, and I feel like this is a pretty good theory on it, where it's like, people love to build someone up, and, like, they love to be, like, part of their success, and I think in a way they feel like they have an ownership of it, and then
Yeah,
once that person reaches a certain point, they're like, "Yeah, but I liked you when you were doing this, and I don't like when you're doing this now, so I'm gonna take that away from you, and I'm gonna cancel that." Because it
interesting.
only happens when people get really big, Natalia. Like, no one gave a fuck. This Andrew Huberman thing, this happened years ago, and it's coming to surface now because
Oh, what?
yeah, he's huge now. Like, this was taking place in 2021 or even earlier.
Oh my god.
But even with other, like, influencers and celebrities, like, people love to build them up, hype them up, and then once they're like, "Oh, you bought a house? You're not relatable. We don't like this version of you," and because they feel an ownership, like, "Oh, I supported you and I made you where you are, I wanna not take that away." It's like a power thing as well. And obviously, it all stems, I think, from insecurity, jealousy, and a bit of envy. Because at the end of the day, like, why are we throwing shade on Megan Fox? Like, What did she
Let
do?
her
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's so crazy. I mean, this is controversial in the comedy world right now, but, Matt Rife is really famous now and
Oh,
because of
yeah.
social media, and a lot of people love him, right? Like, a lot of people hate him, but I do find interesting the discourse amongst the comedy community being like, "Oh, he's only famous because of social media, la, 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 la." And I'm
Oh,
like,
yeah,
in
yeah.
my mind, I'm like, "Y'all are so fucking jealous."
Yeah, 'cause you want
Y'all
that.
y'all wish and then they were making fun of people that do YouTube, TikTok. They're like, clips don't make a comedian, la, la, la. And like, yeah, sure. But I mean, people love him. People like his
Yeah.
comedy. He has a fan base. So clearly he's doing something right for someone. And what people don't realize, yeah, you can think he sucks or whatever, but now he has access to like a community of like writers, like editors, like things like that that will make him good. But people are so salty that he like got so big so fast because of social media. And it's
Mhm.
like, "Why y'all so bitter? Why y'all so bitter trying to cancel?" Trust me, if he sucks, he won't sell tickets, but he's selling.
Exactly.
So, I don't know what to tell y'all, like, the
It goes back to envy, dude. People wish they had that same thing where you blow up overnight type of thing.
Yeah, I totally agree. So
It's
shit
just
is
envy.
wild. I don't know what's going on. On one side, we're, like, soft, we wanna be
Too
coddled a little
soft.
bit, and then on the other hand, we're, like, pitchfork city. So it's
But
just
I think
I
it goes with the soft thing. It's like, "Oh, I'm protecting my peace, but you triggered me, so you must die."
Oh,
It's almost like
interesting.
right? Like, don't you think it kinda goes into that where it's protecting my peace, everyone else should be accountable for how I feel, but also if you're doing anything that's morally gray, like, you should be crucified. I think it kind of goes hand in hand, and it's like, I don't know.
Oh, that's interesting. Like, if
Mhm,
you are discomforting me, then you must end.
mhm,
And
mhm.
whether that be canceling someone on social media or cutting people off of your life as well, like pretty quickly, I would say. When me and Sheen talk about this, we don't mean anything crazy. We mean like for small things. I've seen
Yeah, yeah,
people.
yeah. We're not talking about, like, abuse and, like,
Yeah,
crazy,
yeah, yeah,
horrible
yeah.
things.
No,
Yeah,
we're not
we're just
qualified, we're
talk
not qualified for that. But I definitely do see that a lot, like, in some friends where I'm like, "I'm just gonna, like, cut people off," and that's a punishment in a sense, right? And then canceling people on social media is the same thing. It's like, "Oh, I'm gonna cut off your supply," like,
Mhm.
um, which is crazy world we live in. I I just don't get it. I just feel like let people live and let people exist how they wanna exist, and if you're unhappy, finding ways to be happier.
Like, put the time in that instead of trying to crucify Megan Fox or the next person.
Ugh, so crazy.
Humans are fascinating. We're such interesting little creatures.
We are. We're definitely, like, in the era of overcorrecting ourselves, whether it be too much.
100%.
It's just too much, and it's become super polarizing, and it's honestly affecting everything in our society from entertainment to politics to this. I could go on and on and on. It's gotten crazy.
Do you wanna hear something scary?
Oh my god, what?
Okay, I'm reading this book that talks about the fall and rise of different dynasties,
Uh-huh.
and he goes into, like, all the different like, he goes into, like, China old day, like, 500 BC, he goes into, like, Netherlands when they were, like, the world currency, then the UK, then US, obviously, because right now we're at our highest
Yeah.
power, right? And there is a pattern of what happens when empires rise and they fall. And the
Mhm.
scary little thing
Uh-oh.
is that during the fall, what ends up happening, like the last few steps before like civil war and revolution,
Uh-huh.
is there's a lot of internal conflict within the country or the empire. And
Uh-oh.
there's also other signs, so, like, there's large amount of debt, printing money, so we've definitely hit those ones, and, yeah, internal conflict comes next. So, I don't know, I was just, like, reading that, and I was just thinking, "Yeah, I think we're, like, on the collapse of the US because our internal conflict and our polarization is going to reach a bubbling point, and the bubbling
Yeah.
point is when, like, the big bang happens and a civil war or revolution's gonna happen." So that's a little scary.
That's a little spooky,
Fun
but
history fact for you.
fun fact, so fun, so flirty. I think it's crazy because we do live in a world where, like, a different opinion is not the right opinion, period, and and
Exactly.
that can be true, but the only way that you create change is for the people from the opposite side to be on your side as well.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Like, you need bipartisan support for things to, like, actually make a lasting change in this country or in this world. You can't just
exactly,
have
because
one side ruling.
yeah, the alternative is a dictatorship, which we don't want clearly. So, like, if we want to proceed as a society, we have to learn how to communicate these things and come to a conflict resolution. And guess what? Conflict is hard. We have to do it. We have to be
Yeah.
uncomfy and like make that change. So yeah. Wow, how do we get here?
I know. Oops.
Oopsies.
We were talking about cold plunges, and now I'm telling you about the fall of the
Civil
US.
War. Oh no, I'm dead. I'm
No,
dead.
because Natalia, it's crazy because I was telling you, I was like, "Oh, yeah, mid-April, there's a movie coming out called Civil War," and it's
Yeah.
basically about how, like, the US is gonna have it's like a dystopian post-apocalyptic
Yeah.
future of the US. And when I was watching the preview, I was thinking to myself, because you know how people say, like, "Oh, is this programming? Like, are they getting us warmed up to the idea that
Oh,
there
interesting.
is gonna be civil war?" Like, people, like, the conspiracy side of people say things
Yeah,
like
yeah,
that.
yeah.
I was thinking about that. I was like, "Is this programming?" Like, it is weird that this is, like, coming up kinda a bit more frequently because it also happened with, like, Leave the World Behind, and, like, the Obamas were behind that movie on Netflix
Huh.
that was, like, apocalyptic, and people were being like, "Oh, the Obamas are behind it." So that's why I started reading this book because I wanted to know, like, what's the pattern of the world. And I guess my realization is that I don't necessarily think it's programming, but if they were looking at a book that I'm looking at, they can see the future in the sense where, like, that's where we're headed. Because I do
That's
think, like,
crazy.
if we end up, like, kinda heading this way, like, that is what happens. Not to get too technical, but, like, once the world currency stops being dollar, which
Yeah.
potentially can happen because China is on the rise,
Yeah.
that equals the collapse of the US, and then once that happens, like, the whole empire, it's like a house of cards, it all comes crashing down. Sorry, I don't know why I was telling this. There's a point.
She's dramatic today, guys. I think it ties into you being like, we wait, what were we
I
talking
forgot
about?
what I was at. I forgot why I went back to that.
I forgot how we got here.
But yeah, I guess my point is, do y'all want a civil war or do you guys just wanna get along? Like, can we just I don't know. Can we
Can we
stop
just get
having these
along?
witch trials and let's prevent the civil war from happening?
Yeah, and the way to end these witch trials is by having a low conflict, so basically, that's what I think as well.
The cold
Uh,
plunges equals no civil war. Conclusion. Just kidding.
cool plunges equals no civil war, all is well, no fall of the empire,
If
and
everyone can
yeah,
do a
and
cold plunge, we'll be good. I'm just kidding.
yeah, no, not that simple. Not that simple. But yeah, shit got crazy in this podcast as well.
A little thumbs up. It's like, yeah, it's did get crazy. Yeah. I lost the plot. I'm sorry. Yeah, I mean, this is a I think a reflection of my mind, of your minds. This is how our minds work.
Period.
So, let us know if you are down to do the hard things, baby.
We love you so much. Hope you feel lighthearted after this conversation. Try a cold plunge, and we love you so much.
Love you, little
Bye.
rats. Bye.